Welcome everyone. This is the second part of our Intelligent Automation webinar series. Today our topic is Unleash Your Improvement Ideas with Process Mining. Please do note that all the audience is muted, but you are very welcome to ask questions. There's a questions function on the menu on the right side, so please write your questions there. We reserve a little time at the end to go through those. Slides are not being shared, but the entire recording of the webinar will be made available. Okay, looks like we have lots of people now online, so let's start. Process mining has been getting more and more attention during the last couple of years, and for sure some of you have been hearing about it and maybe even trying it out. When we talking about process mining to our customers, we usually have a quite clear scope and we focus on some specific use cases on specific processes. Process mining is a very powerful tool to get really practical analytic insights, and it's not limited to any type of process or operational function. So I thought that we could have three goals to this webinar today. First, I'd like everyone to have a good basic understanding of the concept of process mining. And secondly, I'd like to give some guidance on how could you spot the places where you could benefit from the process mining, even right away after this webinar. And third, some practical steps to get you started and to keep in mind, as this is very likely to scale up. But, well, you can be the first. My name is Mika Ruth, and I work with process mining at Capgemini, Finland. I've been consulting now for 20 years, and about half of that has been closely linked to improving my customers or my teams or my unit's processes. Usually something related to software development or quality assurance in R&D or manufacturing or in communications or finance, for example. Why I find process mining interesting is that it combines the idea of continuous improvement with data and technology. I believe we want and we need to change and improve our processes and operations, but I don't believe it's that much question of the speed of change. I think it's mostly about taking small steps to the right direction. And of course, noticing that when we are not doing that, and with tools and methods like process mining, it's actually quite wild that we can quite easily access data, utilize cloud computing power and machine learning algorithms, and get some new insights to support and guide us on the way. Let's start with the definition. In process mining, we copy process-related data from production systems. Depending on the case, we might use APIs provided by the system or utilize ready-made connectors or access data in a data warehouse, or even use just an Excel sheet that's exported from the system and delivered by a data engineer or developer to us. Data is then uploaded to a process mining tool, which applies process mining algorithms to create a model of the actual process as it has happened. We can then analyze the model, and there are three high-level objectives that we could have. First, we can discover the real process with all its real-life wanted and unwanted variations, big and small. No need to interview people or try to remember special cases or document anything by hand. Tool visualizes it in seconds, and you can view the process in high level or drill into details. Secondly, we can find ways to optimize processes from different KPIs, common business process KPIs or key metrics of our own. For example, what part of the process would be most beneficial to automate based on lead times and not just going by a hunch and maybe just moving the bottleneck to somewhere else. Thirdly, we can drive conformance. So we can identify needs and ways to harmonize process and adhere to regulations, or perform a process-related audit before we are really getting audited. Or if you happen to be an internal auditor, well, this is quite powerful tool. Now the big question is, what can it be used for? Here's a glimpse of different targets, processes, and contexts that process mining is being used. For an example, now you can think of your organization and your projects and functions you're working in, and are there some areas that could and should be improved? And what kind of processes are you working with? And are there some target metrics that you should meet? If it is a process and if it's run on any ICT system, some custom or legacy system or cloud software as a service or something industry specific or more general, it's likely that it can be process mined. And if it can be process mined, you can find new insights on how people, systems, or software robots are working in the process. You can show insight on what is working great, find hidden bottlenecks. So what with objective data, what is the actual problem that should be focused on, and even estimate the effects of fixing that. What big companies do, they use process mining to remove operational friction in their processes. So they increase profits and cut costs and to focus better on improving. But you can use it almost anywhere. In the picture, there are some ideas where you could apply process mining. Some are function, technology, or industry-specific examples, but you know the best your needs, so try to identify what would be the most valid process or improvement idea for area for you. Let's look in practice with a very simple demo next. We could use an example that everyone should be familiar. So early steps of an employee experience. If company would like to understand better their recruitment process and improve their candidate experience. So that's the use case, but let's shortly look at the toolpack first. One essential part of process mining are the tools. Our customers use many different tools. On the left-hand side, there's some examples. You can find easily this with Google. I've also listed on the top row some open source alternatives. Those tend to be used more for academic purposes than practical applied process mining. But please do check them if you are interested to dig a little bit deeper. Celonis Snap is great free cloud-based tool to try out process mining. So let's use that for a small demo. Okay, everyone who's ever done any programming or tried to or practice even one time any programming language in the world knows that, that there's a program called Hello World that's usually be done the first. So to get the first experience out and something fast and then keep adding on some complexity. So we're doing a process mining equivalent of Hello World here. Maybe something that you could try yourself after this. So there are event logs openly available, and also many process mining tools provide test data sets. So you can use also those. Most interesting and efficient is, of course, if you can use a real data. To keep this as simple as possible, I created this just very simple data set on the first steps with the recruitment process and job applications. HR departments usually use some kind of systems to receive and store applications, manage job postings, and in overall manage the recruitment process. So when we've done the data export from HR system and we have data like this, well, in real world, we would have used the export function of HR system or use an API to get the data. And if we want to scramble, for example, the emails, we could have done that. But let's go with this. So we call this an event log. For process mining, we need at least 3 specific attributes. We have the ID of each job application. We're going to use this as a case ID to tell apart the different applications from each other. And secondly, we have the status, which contains the recruitment pipeline stage. We use this to specify the activity someone is performing in the application process. Thirdly, we always need a timestamp. With that, we can tell right from the data what's the order of the activities for each application. So case ID, activity, and a timestamp. Then it's usually good to identify other valid data for analysis. So here we have the user who performs each activity. And then we have the email of the applicant. We have the position that is being applied. We have the unit that is hiring, and we have the source for the application. So this kind of attributes that can be then beneficial in the analysis. So we can add those. Now we open up process mining tools. So let's have a look at here. We probably timed out, but no problem. We log in first. So this is the entry screen for Cell Snap, and now for demo purposes we create this analysis. Let's close that first. So lots of connectors available, but this is the Snap version. So if we want to use this free, we can, for example, import an Excel file or CSV here. So let's do that. And looks like pretty correct data here, pretty much the same that we had there. Let's just click next. And first they tell us, please select the case ID column, which is the case ID to be used. So, okay, as we planned, we use the application ID here. Then activity, we use the status. And for timestamp, we use the timestamp. Then we can add some additional there, but let's skip that. And then we start importing. So we are creating a data pool of that. We are creating the model, uploading the data to the cloud in this stage. And depending on the amount of data, it might take some minutes. Now there's just a couple of rows of data. So this is really, really, really fast, just a couple of seconds. So loading the process data model and creating the workspace in this case. Like that. And now we can start creating our own analysis. And by the way, there are ready-made analysis also here, but we want to keep it simple and use this. We could do a new analysis, or then we can just use, let's be quick here and use a ready-made analysis to view a little bit what can be really created out of that, just a couple of rows of data, process data. So just a glimpse, couple of things, what we can see here. So first of all, the tool creates the most common process variant here. We can, for example, let's click and we want to see how long time it takes time from move from one activity to another. And so we are receiving the application, assigning it to the hiring team, setting up interview, giving an offer, signing it, and then closing. So this is the nice path. We would like this every application go this way to be really efficient. And we can then start adding the complexity and seeing the other variations also there. So we can right away, with just visualizing the model, we can see lots of things there. We can see things like rework, for example, here. So this interview is being done many times, but that's not a bad thing. It's good to have a couple of interviews, so no problems there. We can right away here see that time for rejecting the application, making the decision that we are not hiring this person. It takes 5 days in average to inform the applicant. In some recruitment processes that might be okay, but in many cases, in many companies, you would like, of course, that the applicant point of view would be that please tell me as soon as possible. So that could be a metric and KPI to follow in this example process. And then we can right away see some interesting things here, that there are also applications that are rejected and then closed. So it looks like that we are not informing the applicant at all. And that's, of course, really, really bad. Just to show a different kind of a conformance analysis, let's move to an edit mode here. So we can, let's add an conformance analysis, and let's do it based on the data that we got. So for a sake of demo, I just select a couple of those over there, and then I launch the conformance analysis. So what we created here is a kind of a reference model, so that what is the process model that's kind of allowed, and what is okay, which kind of process model. And we can then analyze the conformance that, okay, 75% of our applications are conforming to this process that we give. And we can add lots of metrics here, and we can right away see violations here, so that there are 25% of cases where application is rejected and then right away closed. So this is not okay. And then we can click here and dig deeper and find the root cause analysis there. So just a quick glimpse of what kind of things you can do with process mining tools. Okay, that was really easy. So let's summarize what are the differences of process mining compared to, say, more traditional analytics and business intelligence or business process management methods. Process mining is good for 3 high-level use cases. So visualizing the real-life process, identifying the actions for process improvements, and managing conformance. Now, traditional methods give us KPIs and metrics, but they are usually quite fixed and quite black box. So we see, for example, total throughput volume and time, but can't drill down that easily. With process mining, we can look process at high level, but also drill down to the very, very fine details, down to single event log lines. And we can easily add metrics to any level. So this helps to understand the whole process much better. Without process mining, we need to lean only on process experts' knowledge and insight and static documentation of the process. With so much happening in the real-life processes that might be biased, incomplete, or outdated. With process mining, we can see the objective truth, which we can then further analyze with professional expertise and analytic tools. And we have the documentation up to date. So instead of focusing only on known and the most common variances or problems or opportunities, we can cover all process variations and focus on those variations and those actions that matter for our metrics and goals the most. Process mining gives us also tools to simulate the effects of actions. What would happen if we would automate one part of the process? Would we be faster or become faster, or would we just move the bottleneck somewhere else? Process parts can have quite complex dependencies, so some are obvious and some are such that some people are aware of those. It can be, however, very powerful to be able to point out those based on data and simulation, kind of objective view, provide an objective view. We can also go other way around and perform root cause analysis, like in the demo. So while we are not conforming to our process rule that we should inform the applicant on reject decision. Finally, once set up, process mined data model can be kept automatically up to date. We can even use it as a digital twin in the manufacturing process, view in real time on how the production is performing. Now let's get to practice. How do companies build their process mining capability? Quite often it starts with a proof of value project, or you can call it a pilot or MVP in some cases. One tool, one process, tight scope, usually just one source system for the data, but might be more. And learn something, set up data connections, and build awareness and commitment for process mining. Then next phase on a high-level roadmap is to mine a complete production process, usually. This can be a part of a bigger transformation project. So process mining is here just the activity to provide insight and transparency and help to focus on correct actions. And process mining is used by a group of users daily or at least weekly, just like in any analytics tool. To scale up the organization, we need to set up some kind of center of excellence and internal organization to support process mining activities and build the competence and offer services and really tie data-driven improvement, including the use of process mining methods and technologies to the whole company strategy to help to build more agile and data-driven culture. There's a great new book on process mining with lots of real-life cases from companies like Siemens, BMW, ABB, Bayer, and others. So process mining in action, there's the details on the bottom right corner. In the book, they identified 3 critical success factors for process mining initiatives: purpose, people, and process traces. Purpose meaning that you shouldn't just mine out all of the data and try to use it somehow, but you need to limit the scope and know where to focus and what to try to achieve. People means process owners and the key persons being at least somewhat enthusiastic on process mining and willing to push the change in the organizations. The third one is the technical process traces. They're usually there and can be made available, but in some cases the data might just be too scattered around, too many different systems and maybe not up to date, so it could not be trusted. Now the great thing here is that to start out, you probably know the process and where you should focus. You and maybe a couple of your colleagues might be the right people to try this out. And you can pick a case where process traces are available. To proceed further on the roadmap, the key to success, or one of them, is the C-level, high-level commitment, and as it means a change in the way of working in the organization and for many people, and investment in time and money to get really things in shape and done. But you could basically already have what it takes to initiate a pilot, or at least do some search of your own, play around with data and tools, and be one of the key persons to drive process mining concept to data and improvement in your company. Now, finally, here we have a summary of steps to follow. First, we need the scope. So a target process and idea of what we want to improve. Usually, it doesn't work if we just upload process-related data and from data warehouse and see what we can find. Then we need the event logs. So first we need to identify the systems and how to get the data from there. Commercial tools have often ready-made connectors to most common corporate ERP, CRM, ticketing systems, and so on. That's nice, as those are big systems, and identifying the correct attributes and creating the data models, that would be quite a big task. If you don't know here how to access the data, the best bet would maybe be to talk to a data engineer or a developer. One quite easy way is to create a database and update new process data from the system's APIs there, so especially when working with cloud SaaS applications. If your system is operated by a service vendor, you could, of course, try to find how logging is implemented and how to access it. And company data architect would probably be your best friend to support you there. And then if you could find an export or audit trail function in the system to export the data to CSV or Excel, that's possible. You might also have the raw data already available if you have some kind of transaction reports, so those you might already have it there also. It's, however, good to be a bit suspicious towards your data set, especially in the beginning. So check it out, and here and there and on a summary level, does it make sense? You might have also some activity names used inconsistently. You can unify those for one-time analysis, but good practice is also to let them show in the process mining analytics. That's the reality, how the data is, so no need to hide it. If it's fixed, let's fix it in the system. Then you get to build the analysis and use the ready-made ones or discover more. Remember the goal setting and set the analysis to help on that. So is it process discovery and mapping you are doing, or trying to optimize with some key metrics or analyst conformance? One good practice to remember is that do not make it personal with analysis. It should be no means of surveillance or finding that who's guilty and who's not. Any comments or communications that might give that feeling are likely to be a blocker in the whole bigger journey. So learn from data, work with people, and reach your targets. Then time to check if we have some questions here. Let's see. What of the tools can you recommend and what not? Well, that's a question. Tools, they differ in features and availability of the ready-made connectors. So it depends on your needs. And also amount of the users and data and processes may affect the licensing differently. So it really depends. And what not to recommend? Well, I haven't run to any tool which wouldn't be better than no tool. So let's leave it there and just start mining. And then there's another. I think we covered this, but how to get data out if there are no process traces available? Well, you need the process traces, so usually the system logs are the place to look at. And if not there, then some audit trail requirements for system. If there are audit trail requirements, then the traces should be there. So audit trail is recording who is doing what and when. So that's the process trace for us. So it of course depends a little bit of the logging system, how to access that and how to export. So consult your system vendor or application manager or nearest developer or data guy. So they probably help you there. Okay, I see no more questions here. So we are getting ready. Before closing, a reminder of our upcoming webinars. So next week, we dig into AI, predictive algorithms and qualitative analytics with our friends at Aivo. And in 2 weeks, we go through a study that our team did on Finnish RPA market. So stay tuned and register to our events. You may enter our site at bit.li/automaatioajatuksia or follow us in social media. And thank you all for listening. I hope you found this useful. Webinar recording will be shared to your emails, possibly already tomorrow. Any questions or anything process mining related in your mind, please feel free to contact me. Have a really good rest of the day and stay safe.